Hi, welcome to my studio. My name's Kris. In this video, I'm going to share my top 5 book recommendations on art and watercolor that I read in the last year. If this sounds interesting to you, keep on watching. Recently, I was reviewing my art goals from the last 12 months. I set new goals every year, and I review them regularly to check my progress. By the way, if you don't regularly set and review art goals, but you want to start, I have another video on that topic here on my channel. I'll put the link in the description below. One of the goals I made about a year ago was to read at least 6 books on art and watercolor. My intent was to learn some new techniques, be inspired by other watercolor artists, and I had a specific focus in that I wanted to improve my landscape painting. Well, I'm happy to report I not only met that goal, I exceeded it. I read a bunch of books on art and watercolor over the last 12 months. In fact, I read too many to list them all here, so I've decided to narrow down my list and share my top 5. By the way, I'm going to list these books in reverse order, starting with number 5 and working my way down to number 1. So if you're ready to go, let's get started. Book recommendation number 5, David Bellamy's Complete Guide to Watercolor Painting. This book was published in 2011 by David Bellamy, of course, famous UK artist and adventurer. One thing I like about David is that he loves to paint on location. He goes to wild and remote places in the United Kingdom, and he paints plein air. I love to get out and paint as well, so I relate to his work. This book is a comprehensive guide to watercolor, so it's great for beginning artists. But he also includes lots of step-by-step tutorials which give great details about how he paints. The book can be purchased online in both hardbound and paperback for about $20, which is a great value. I will leave links to all the books I recommend in this video in the description below. Book recommendation number 4, Painting the Impressionist Watercolor by Lee Boynton. I think I said that name right. This book focuses on painting in an impressionist style, specifically in watercolor. The author starts the book by giving a history of Impressionism, which I found interesting, and then a list of materials and supplies that he uses in his paintings. But the really interesting part of the book, in my opinion, comes in parts 3 and 4, where the artist gives step-by-step tutorials on how to paint in an Impressionist style. His sample paintings include both still life subjects and landscapes. If Impressionism is an interest to you, this might be a great book to consider. This book was published in 2003 and it has 144 pages. It can still be purchased online for about $16. However, I just borrowed it from the local library, which is another great option. Okay, the next book. My book recommendation number 3 is Skies, Light, and Atmosphere in Watercolor by David Bellamy. Since I've been focusing on learning how to paint landscapes, I really needed some help with my skies and light. This is a great book on that subject. This book was published in 2012 and is a little bit shorter than the others at just 80 pages, but it has tons of beautiful images and lots of step-by-step tutorials that show you how to paint different types of skies. This book is available online as a paperback for about $17 US. I'll leave the link below. Book recommendation number 2. My next watercolor book from the last year is one of my all-time favorites. It's a book by Hazel Sohn. I think I'm saying her name right. That's S-O-A-N. This is one of my all-time favorite books. It's called Light and Shade in Watercolor. She demonstrates throughout the book how mastering light and shade in your paintings is key to successful watercolor painting. Hazel Sohn actually tells you the story of how she learned to paint watercolor as she lived and traveled around the world. So her subject matter includes all kinds of interesting subjects. She loves to use bright colors, and she tends to paint in a little bit more of an impressionist style as compared to David Bellamy. This book too is full of great step-by-step tutorials, And she also has a section on learning to master the use of value in your watercolor. The book is 144 pages and can be purchased online for about $23 US. Again, check out my link below for more details. Finally, my #1 watercolor book recommendation from the last year. The book is Painting Light and Shadow by Skip Lawrence. I mentioned this book in my gift giving guide a few months ago. You can check that video out for more details. Similar to the previous book by Hazel Sohn, this is one of my all-time favorite watercolor books. Skip Lawrence is a leader in the world of watercolor art instruction. He's created a unique teaching style, and this book is probably one of his best on that subject. I purchased the newest 2021 edition of the book, which can be purchased online for about $42 US. That was definitely the most expensive watercolor book I bought this last year, but it's well worth it. The book is 42 pages in length and includes lots of step-by-step lessons. Some of the topics in the book include seeing shapes, not things, and painting with light and dark. Another topic I found helpful was how to organize values in the painting. He also talks about how to paint with spotlight or floodlight. He talks about how to make color decisions in your painting. He talks about developing contrast, how to create moods, and finally, how to achieve unity in your painting. As you can see from this long list of topics, this book covers it all. So there you go. There's my top 5 watercolor book recommendations from the last year. I can honestly say I learned something significant from each one of these books, and some of them even made it into my personal watercolor book library. So do you have books that you've read recently that you can highly recommend to other watercolor artists? If so, please leave the book title and author in the comments below. I'd love to hear your recommendations and pass them on to this watercolor community. If you found this video to be helpful, consider subscribing to my channel. I put out new videos like this about once a week. Thanks for watching, keep on painting, and have a great day.